A very, very classic Korean CVC match as we are starting and we are loaded into this beautiful ancient cistern map. In the bottom left hand side of the map for Alpha X, the true alpha of Alpha X, it is RagnaroK.
Going for a 14 pool. And on the top right corner, it is answering for with an even earlier pool. Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Dark.
Okay, Dark in trouble.
As we update the score for
As
the
we
series.
sure do. Most def, it's a best of 3.
Indeed. And yeah, this is going to get wonky already. I mean, as far as I know, 14 pool, of course, should beat a 12 pool. But there's still the macro factor or the micro factors, so it will come down to how these players react to each other when they pull down their drones or their links. 3 drones actually being pulled by Dark.
This is
so
bad for Dark. I mean, Dark lost this game, I think. I can't imagine this working in any universe. And it's the worst case scenario.
There's that volatility you were talking about, you know, like this doesn't indicate skill at all, but it's just a gamble. So the game could just end simply for the fact that Dark went to 12 pool against a 14 pool.
Yeah. And also RagnaroK with the detail of leaving his Overlord behind. However, he's going to exit his base with the circling. So there's some hope here for Dark as RagnaroK begins to drone back up. Dark's going to be really sad to see that the hatchery is not done here. And he is going to start making some of those drones. The spines and the map for it. I mean, you can see why he chose this map for it. The spines will siege both the natural and the main base from this area. And luckily for Dark, I mean, RagnaroK completely out of position. There's a volatility that we've been talking about, I guess. And his reaction is going to be spines, but 2 of them are exposed and taken down promptly on the side of Dark. Dark does not want to engage. He wants to wait for his spines. Here comes the circling flank from RagnaroK. That's going to take down one of those spines really quick. Now the drones are trying to surround onto Dark here. Dark has a lot and he has circlings, but is it going to be enough? He needs the spines to go up. The drones are getting really low. He has to run a little bit away, and now the spines come into play. And that will push RagnaroK back. Dark making another one, and very quick to reposition too.
RagnaroK did make his own spine meanwhile, but even though he did lose 1 spine crawler without canceling it, he still has more than enough supply, I believe, to hold this. He will need to pull the drones though, and he does need to burrow the spine so much faster because these spines are not gonna die just to the drones themselves. And with this 3rd spine finishing, actually this could get really wonky.
Yeah, the Queen tanking a little bit more damage. Maybe 2 spine shots there on the side of RagnaroK. Well done by him. Dark readjusts, but it's a little bit too late for that. Spine versus spine, but there's plenty of transfuse on that Queen. This spine reposition is not really gonna do too much for Dark, and it looks like he's running out of steam with 2 workers left to his name. He's trying to do what he can to even that count, but it is hopeless. RagnaroK has done it, and Dark will drop game number 1 against the underdog.
Yeah, I guess it was really hopeless from the start because really this was the best case scenario for Dark, with RagnaroK running his 6 lings halfway across the map before they had to turn back and react to the all-in that was coming. So honestly, if even in that case Dark was not able to break RagnaroK, then there is no way that a 12 pool drone pool can break a 14 pool.
Nah,
so
not a
absolute build order win.
Absolute build order win. I mean, yeah, like especially because he made 6 circlings right away off of the 14 pool. So yeah, RagnaroK basically just blind hard countering this type of build order, 13-12, 12 pool in general. But the fact that he commits Dark with the drones makes it even worse. There is the micro aspect that you were talking about, but there was never gonna be needed a drone pool on the side of RagnaroK to defend on the low ground, for example. So unless RagnaroK make big mistakes before the Queen popped up, which is pretty early because you went 14 pool, there was just no chance for Dark to achieve anything. So best case scenario for him, I think, was just commit to the initial 12 pool and play from behind, like 3 drones or 4 drones behind, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of funny. But that's just the play style of Dark. I mean, even if he is considered by many the superior player going into the series, he just doesn't care. He will cheese the hell out of you. That is what he does against foreigners and apparently also against Koreans. So, but I do wonder if he will take a more conservative approach going into the next couple of games here. as we go into Royal Blood for our map number 2.
It's likely, but at the same time, Diejo, like I feel like like a lot of good players will take the stance of I'm the better player, and therefore I'm just gonna kind of absorb and play, play from behind basically. But I think that's not great all the time, right? If you make that your playstyle and you're never willing to take any risks, then players will abuse that, right? Like players will get ahead of you for free. Players will cut corners and then you're all of a sudden not as strong of a player. So it's nice to see Dark like showing his range and showing that he can do anything because that makes him all the more dangerous, right? It's more difficult to play against him, more difficult to prepare, more difficult to expect anything from him. And that's what makes him so strong. But in this particular case, not looking so, at least not for the first game.
Indeed, and it seems it was not difficult enough for RagnaroK to predict what this man was doing, but he will try to fight his way back into the series from a 0-1 deficit. Dragon Phoenix, the Dark.
And his opponent in the top right hand side, the most alpha of all alpha X's, it is RagnaroK. One of the cooler names out there.
It is pretty cool. I can't believe he tried to name switch for a while.
He did?
Yeah.
To what? Oh, whoops.
Hebom.
I did the intros without switching to game. My bad. We good. The scores are updated though. To what? To T-Bomb?
Hebom. That's his real name.
He switched from Ragnar? I don't remember this.
Well, he wanted to switch for a while when he was on Psystorm, but they convinced him to stay as RagnaroK.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think definitely a good decision. It's a really cool name, so
it's a great name.
I decided to keep it.
Wait, did he decide or did they force him to keep it?
Well, they can't force him to do anything. They just merely suggested it, I believe.
Merely suggested.
Or I would say in general the feedback was that RagnaroK was a much cooler name.
It is true. I mean, RagnaroK is one of the coolest names out there. Mirror builds here on both ends. Just going to be mining their gas with a 3 each on either side. So prioritizing that link speed. This is one of the matchups where you don't really want to cut down that gas. I sometimes do, but every pro doesn't. So, like let's just take the word of every pro for it. You basically don't want to. And the reason for that is map control is pretty important. And when you have your link speed kicking in, if you have the same number of links out on the map, the player with link speed gets the option to, chase and potentially take a better engagement if they have the numbers and the positioning, which you can attain positioning with the link speed, right? So don't want that to be even a couple of seconds slower usually.
Yeah, it is such a freaking vital upgrade in the ZVZ that it's definitely has its perks to get as soon as possible. As RagnaroK already positions himself to take a third base to match Dark's third base even.
Yeah.
But not much variation so far, except that RagnaroK is sending a couple of links to scout across the map.
Yeah, this is the most standard opening that you could possibly get. Dark delays is his first 2 circlings. I mean, variations of this opening, you could have made 2, 4, or 6 links. 2 is the most common, right, for the scout there, as Dark trades or kills one of RagnaroK's links on offense there, and will proceed on to RagnaroK's side of the map to try and scout himself. This Overlord should make it to the pillar, but actually runs past it.
Oops.
And that means death. I guess there was this other Overlord from RagnaroK already trying to close the distance, so a nice kill from RagnaroK. It will open the door for Dark to go in and get a full scout, and he will actually see that gas is being mined still with 3, which is important information, and RagnaroK's not trying to conceal it at all.
Yeah, I mean, seeing this much gas being mined and no lair being researched, also with the Baneling NAS finished, then it may trigger some alarms for Dark as he already begins to wharf at least 1 Baneling and start a round of links.
Yeah, both players dropping the Evo chambers here. Very likely to go into Roaches, even though there's no Roach Warren just yet. But yeah, that's likely where a lot of that gas from RagnaroK is going to go. And Dark with equal numbers of gas as well. So has he been mining with 3 at a time as well the entire time? It looks to be that way. And Roach Warren goes down for either player. So both players looking to go into the Roach Wars and to upgrade those roaches promptly. It's Carapace on the side of RagnaroK, however, versus the attack on the side of Dark.
Yeah, and the reason they might opt to go for Carapace here is so that the Banelings won't one-shot their Lings.
Yep. It's there's another option that opens as well with Carapace, which is that you can reinforce with Ravagers and just stay heavier on the Lings. So you can go Ravager Ling into a Roach composition, try to get a surround, and with the surround get some biles off. But yeah, not easier said than done. We'll see if RagnaroK opts to do something like that, already making 5 roaches, where Dark is opting for extra circlings.
The lair will be much faster here on the side of Dark, as it already begins, which means road speed will be a more accessible tech path for Dark. Yep. Maybe RagnaroK will just wants to play kind of defensive this game, probably.
Either that or play very aggressive and go with the Ravagers, right? Because you don't need a lair for the Ravagers, and you wouldn't want the roach speed for the Ravagers either. He does have a pretty sizable number of roaches, and he wants to at least feign crossing the map at this point.
Aggressively, I meant, sorry, not defensively.
No, he's super aggressive, yeah.
It would not make sense for sure to make this many units and push across the map while defending on his side. He definitely forgoes lair for the sake of more units here so that he can put as much pressure as he can.
Yep.
On Dark.
So let's see if he's going to be able to break him. Dark already identifying this. Has a few spines on the way, but they're not yet done. The Lynx and Roaches are just trying to buy some space before the Banelings of RagnaroK are morphed. And now that the Lynx and Banelings are out and the spines are finally out as well on the side of Dark, he's going to be able to retreat to them and maybe hold here. There's no transfuses available. One of the spines has to be repositioned to actually help him hold this choke. And it looks like it will be barely enough. I think RagnaroK could have stayed for one extra volley there before the second spine rooted and still taken a decent trade. But all things point to Dark stabilizing at this point, and things look fantastic for him.
He really does. I mean, he droned up the perfect amount, which was about 5 drones up. Had spines in position, which are really such a great deterrent for these kinds of pushes. So really a great start for Dark, showing that superiority here and already beginning his transition into the later stages of the game with gases in his natural and road speed on the way.
Yeah, I wish I could interview these players after the fact, because one thing I noticed on both ends is that they both took the gases at their third first. Like they double saturated gases at their third before even taking the ones at their natural. So that seems to be a trend, right? If I saw one player do it, I'd be questioning the player. But when I see both players at this level do it, I have to question whether it is the right decision, because I just can't think of why it would be.
Well, in this case, there seems to be quite a few run-bys on both sides. A bit of a base trade, except RagnaroK does it with Lynx, while Dark using Roaches. That is going to force drones to pull away from the third base. He did a great job of walling off his natural right before the Queen that was in the wall died, which actually would have been a disaster for Dark. So great control here, great crisis management on the defense. And it looks like Dark should be able to defend this push, but it's going to cost a lot. I mean, he's still down in army supply. It is definitely a possible hold, but it's going to be difficult.
He's behind on upgrades as well now, right? Because Carapace is already finished on the side of RagnaroK, remember? And he went for the +1 attack, where Dark is going for his +2 attack. And when that kicks in, his army will be stronger. But for the time being, RagnaroK with the better upgrades and his road speed kicking in, Dark not really with enough time to kind of like get his army together, and it looks like RagnaroK might actually be getting the 2-0 here on Dark on the back of this push. Very, very strong. After a strong hold from Dark, RagnaroK says, I do not care. He does not drone nearly as heavily. 14 workers, the difference in favor of Dark, but that's not gonna matter one bit if he is dead.
Absolutely. I mean, RagnaroK is just poised to take this match. He says, I don't need road speed. I just need units. I have 1-1 upgrades. My roaches are stronger, and I'm just going to keep pushing forward. He is going to try and cancel that +2 attack on the missile upgrades. Baneling Nest goes down. That is not going to be a unit anymore. That is not a factor that RagnaroK cares, because all he needs is to keep massing roaches and pushing across the map as the third base is almost going down. This is just too much, and I don't see how Dark holds this.
Yeah, really a beautiful maneuver there from Dark to try to snipe the his own Baneling Nest, to both create an opening for him and get the changelings to kind of, or the little, what are those guys called?
Broodlings?
The Broodlings to try to help him out tank, right? So really, really cool, cute maneuver, identifying that the Baneling Nest was going to be useless. And he actually manages to hold on the back of that. So I am perplexed. I mean, he is still kind of dead. He doesn't have a third. RagnaroK got everything that he came for, and he is unable to retreat because of the lack of roach speed. But Dark, I mean, he has one final push. He has one final punch. Doesn't look too hopeful. There's already a spine. There's healthy roaches waiting for him. But he has to try to make something happen. And on the back of that, I mean, this guy is just brilliant. Somehow, some way, he has managed to drop a Spire in the midst of all of that whilst holding. So, you know, like, if that Spire wasn't going up, I'd say 0% chance. With that Spire being as far along as it is, I have to give Dark some credit, and I have to think that he's still not completely out of this game. Could he turn it around? It would be miraculous, but not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to need quite a few mutas, I think. 5, not really able to do that damage on the queens that you need to be able to break through. But still, he did make enough roaches to be able to hold on for now, which is also extremely important so that he just doesn't simply roll over and die to RagnaroK's counterattack. But mutas will start to come out and will at least hold off these roaches for a bit.
Yeah, it'll actually press RagnaroK onto an attack, which I'm not sure is what he wants right now. Unfortunately for Dark, the queen with the most energy got picked off right away before the engagement started there. That would have been really helpful. A lot of these roaches are bruised. And the Muta, I mean, their job is not really to kill queens or kill his opponent. It is to get some map control. It is to snipe some overlords out there. And to allow for Dark to re-drone back up and to get his economy working in the back of that. But big props have to be given as well to RagnaroK for a seamless transition into Hydralisks. By the time the Mutas arrive on the other side, Hydras are already out. Dark trying to make something happen with the roaches. He will get chased back and could have gotten chased back further even, as RagnaroK with the counterattacks looks to be solidifying his lead further and further.
He's completely relentless with these Zerglings counterattacks. Even if he was focusing on a roach main army composition, he still has the Zerglings to keep Dark at home all the time and finding this damage, and that really Dark can't afford to take. And honestly, with 5 mutas and a bunch of roaches, I don't know if he's gonna be able to hold this roach Hydra composition that's coming.
Yeah, his best shot is gonna be a lot of Biles, a lot of Ravagers, right? Ravagers, very competitive, if not better than Hydras. Hydras output more flat DPS, but if some of those Biles land, if you can hold a choke, then there is yet hope. One of those Biles will actually land, but the concave is so much bigger now for RagnaroK. Dark needs to continue to back and try to find fights in the chokes. These concaves are not going to help him at all. The Mutas are trying to get involved, but they really have no business in doing so. And yeah, it's going to be GG. Dark will tap out, and after a beautiful